One arrogant man, one calm woman, and $1 billion mistake. What began as a public humiliation ended with a lesson he'd never forget. The afternoon sun spilled through the wide glass windows of Le Vieux Jardin, bathing the restaurant in a soft golden hue. The city skyline shimmered beyond the glass, tall, proud, and distant, as if watching quietly over the lives within. Inside, the world moved at a gentler pace. Soft jazz hummed through hidden speakers, weaving through the clinking of silverware and murmurs of polite conversation. Laughter drifted lightly from a corner table, the kind that belonged to people who had never rushed for anything in their lives. Among them moved Maya, tall, poised, and quietly radiant. Her dark skin caught the sunlight as she passed, her steps smooth, deliberate, almost rhythmic. The white linen apron tied around her waist fluttered slightly with every motion. She carried plates with care, but more than that, she carried grace, the kind that couldn't be taught, only earned. When guests met her gaze, she offered a smile, calm, genuine, unshaken. Even when some looked past her, speaking as if she were invisible, her composure never cracked. There was strength in her silence, and a quiet dignity in her movements. Everything seemed perfect. Yet beneath that calm surface, something in the air whispered that the peace would not last. The calm hum of the restaurant fractured the moment Richard Hale walked in. His presence arrived before his voice did, sharp, commanding, unmistakable. Conversations faltered, laughter faded, and even the music seemed to shrink in volume. Dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, his watch gleamed brighter than the silverware on the tables. Behind him trailed his entourage, assistants clutching tablets, a bodyguard scanning the room, and a manager stumbling over apologies for not anticipating his arrival sooner. Richard's eyes swept across the restaurant like a spotlight, not searching, claiming. He moved with the confidence of a man who believed the world was built for him to walk through. When he spoke, it wasn't a request, but a decree. "We'll sit there," he said, gesturing toward the best table by the window without waiting for approval. Guests exchanged quiet glances, the air thick with discomfort. The peaceful rhythm that once filled the room had been replaced by tension, invisible but palpable. From across the room, Maya straightened. She smoothed her apron, lifted her notepad, and approached with steady steps. Her voice when she spoke was calm and clear, a contrast to his noise. "Good afternoon, sir. May I take your order?" He didn't look up right away. And when he did, the storm began. Maya held her notepad steady, her tone even and gentle. "Would you like to see the wine list, sir?" she asked, her eyes calm, her voice respectful. Richard looked up sharply, irritation flashing across his face like lightning. His lips curled into a smirk that never reached his eyes. "Do I look like I need help picking wine?" he snapped, his voice slicing through the soft music. Heads turned. Forks paused midair. "Just bring me something decent. Can you even handle that?" The words struck like a slap, loud enough for the entire room to hear. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. The air itself seemed to hesitate. Maya stood motionless for a brief second, her heart pounding in her chest, not from fear, but from the effort to stay composed. Then she inhaled slowly, her expression unbroken. "Of course, sir," she replied softly, her voice carrying both grace and quiet power. She turned and walked away, every step measured, every breath deliberate. At his table, Richard leaned back smugly, while his assistant lowered his gaze, cheeks burning with shame. No one dared speak. And yet, as Maya disappeared behind the counter, a flicker passed through her eyes. Not anger, not defeat. Something deeper, something waiting. Mr. Thompson hurried across the dining room, his polished shoes clicking against the marble floor. His face glistened with nervous sweat as he reached Richard's table, bowing slightly. "Mr. Hale, I deeply apologize for the misunderstanding," he stammered. "Please, allow me to move you to our private suite upstairs. Quieter, more comfortable." Richard sighed dramatically, the sound laced with arrogance. "You should invest in training your people before offering comfort," he muttered, pushing his chair back. The manager forced a tight smile, signaling to the staff to clear a path. Minutes later, Richard sat surrounded by his entourage in a private glass room, city sunlight pouring in from behind him like a spotlight. He leaned back, swirling his drink. "You know," he began, voice booming with self-satisfaction. "After lunch, I have a call with Elara Innovations. We're finalizing a $1 billion deal. Their new CEO's some mystery genius. Never met them in person. But they'll be lucky to work with me." His assistants laughed obediently. Outside the room, Maya approached quietly, refilling their water glasses. Her movements were steady, but as the name Elara Innovations left his lips, her eyes flickered. Just for a second. A glint of recognition. Then, just as quickly, her expression smoothed again. She nodded politely and walked away, silent, composed, unreadable. The afternoon sun had begun to fade, casting long golden streaks across the restaurant floor. The last of the guests drifted out, laughter trailing behind them like faint echoes. Maya moved through the now empty dining room in silence, collecting napkins, straightening chairs, small, deliberate motions that hid the storm beneath her calm. When everything was in order, she untied her apron and folded it neatly on the counter, her reflection caught in the window. Not the quiet waitress anymore, but something sharper, steadier. Without a word, she walked toward the manager's office at the back. Inside, the hum of the air conditioner was the only sound. A sleek silver laptop glowed softly on the desk. Papers were stacked neatly beside it. Maya placed her name badge down, its edges worn from long hours of service. But next to it, she set something else. A black keycard embossed with the logo of Elara Innovations. For a moment, she stared at it, the symbol of another world entirely. Her expression changed, the softness replaced by quiet authority. Her fingers hovered over the laptop keys, confident, familiar. In that instant, the illusion of the humble waitress dissolved completely. Maya wasn't just an employee here. She was something far more powerful, and soon, everyone would know. The clock on the wall struck 3 as Richard Hale adjusted his tie, glancing impatiently at his watch. His entourage had left him alone in the private glass room, the remnants of an untouched meal scattered across the table. He opened his sleek laptop, muttering under his breath, "Let's make this quick." The screen flickered to life, the company logo, Elara Innovations, pulsing in elegant blue before the video connected. The image sharpened, and there she was, Maya. No apron, no name tag. Instead, she wore a tailored dark blue suit, her posture straight, her eyes steady and knowing. Her hair, once tied simply, was now swept into a smooth bun. The soft-spoken waitress had vanished, replaced by someone who radiated control and quiet authority. "Good afternoon, Mr. Hale," she began, her tone calm, composed, but edged with unmistakable power. "I believe we met earlier, at the restaurant." Richard's mouth parted slightly, but no sound came. His hand froze midair, the color draining from his face. For once, the man who commanded every room had nothing to say. The silence between them stretched. Heavy, humiliating, inescapable. And as Maya's gaze held his, he knew. The balance of power had shifted forever. Richard swallowed hard, the confidence that had once filled the room now draining from him like air from a punctured balloon. He leaned forward, his voice unsteady. Miss Maya, I think there's been some misunderstanding," he stammered, the practiced arrogance in his tone slipping into desperation. But Maya didn't flinch. Her expression remained calm, her voice steady, precise, deliberate. "At Elara, we believe in respect," she said softly, each word sharp as glass. "For every person, regardless of status, wealth, or title." Her eyes never left his. "I've reconsidered our partnership," she continued, her tone measured yet final. "The deal is off." The color in Richard's face deepened, not from anger, but shame. He opened his mouth to protest, but no defense could reach her. The words that had once commanded boardrooms failed him completely. Maya's lips curved into the faintest trace of a knowing smile. "Money can't buy character, Mr. Hale." Then, a soft click. The screen went black. Richard sat frozen, the reflection of his own pale face staring back from the dark monitor. Around him, the echo of her words lingered in the quiet room, a verdict, a lesson, and a reckoning all at once. The golden light of the setting sun spilled across the quiet street as Maya stepped out of the restaurant, the glass doors closing softly behind her. The city hummed gently around her. Distant traffic, laughter from a nearby cafe, the whisper of evening wind through the trees. She paused for a moment, letting the warmth of the sunlight brush against her skin. Gone was the uniform, the weight of long shifts, the quiet endurance. In its place stood a woman calm and unshaken, her dark blue suit catching the light like quiet armor. She walked with the poise of someone who no longer needed to prove anything, not her worth, not her strength, not her place. Inside, Richard still sat before a blank screen, trapped in the silence of his own making. Outside, Maya smiled softly, her expression neither triumphant nor bitter, just free. A voice, gentle and steady, filled the fading light. She didn't need revenge. She only needed respect. Sometimes the most powerful response is silence. Maya turned toward the sun, its last rays framing her like a crown of light. And as the world moved on, she walked forward, dignified, composed, unbroken, leaving behind not a scene of anger, but a lesson that would echo long after the day was done. Respect is the true currency of success. Without it, even a billionaire can go bankrupt.